Linked to this, Amir Saab's asked another question about congregational prayer, and he's actually asked the question that the Tahajjud prayer had been offered, after which some people started, or he witnessed in some occasions, people have started saying Fajr prayer before he writes its regular time. His question basically is, can you offer Fajr prayer before the prescribed time? According to his own interpretation, you can only offer Fajr prayer after Tahajjud, after the Azan for the Fajr prayer has taken place. Perhaps if you could just comment on that.
Given that I lived in Rabwa for a period of time, and I know there the system perhaps is much more organized just based on the number of people in the community than you find in other places outside of Rabwa. His experience would be the same I had, that seeing that organized community. Everything was clockwork. You knew what time was Fajr, you knew what time was all the 5 prayers. And if you were to say Tahajjud time, Tahajjud prayer, you knew by this time your Tahajjud is finishing, you're going to the masjid for prayer. It appears from this questioner that somehow Fajr time was fixed perhaps in the mosque.
Yes.
Say for instance, the prayer was 6:30, it's winter time now, 6:30, and they said Tahajjud. But they finished Tahajjud at 6 o'clock, which is the beginning of Fajr.
Yes.
And the congregants were confused that according to the mosque schedule, we're supposed to pray Fajr at 6:30. And yet you're praying at 6, perhaps 10, 15, and it's too early. So some may have felt confused that this is invalid. And they questioned whether we did the correct thing or not. They lost sight of the fact that Fajr is not always a time that's fixed in the mosque. It could be earlier than that time. And whenever the time of Fajr comes, it's quite valid to say it, whether you said it at the earliest point of Fajr or the lattest point of Fajr, according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, when he gave us when you can start a prayer and when you can end a prayer. And anything in between is valid. So that perhaps would help this congregation feel as if they are not breaking any particular rules or regulations or principles by saying a Fajr prayer a bit earlier than the usual time in the mosque. Anything other than that, I'm not quite sure that it
No, I think that does answer. I think, as you rightly said, sometimes for lifestyles, I think people do prescribe times, or almost indeed do. But Jazakallah, Hazrat Saab and Dr. Saab, for your answers there, and Jazakallah, Amir Saab, for your